months, but maybe that's just me. We'll get out into the world again, and we'll be going places and doing things that we used to frequent all the time. It'll look a little different than it did before, but it'll be there. We are going. Life continues. However, there is one thing that hasn't stopped and will continue. In fact, this has gotten stronger, and that is identity theft.
Players to ever play the game, arguably the two best at their position to ever play the game. And what do they have in common other than now they're going to be playing for two different teams together? They both were done playing for Bill Belichick. It's fascinating. I mean, just from like an empirical standpoint, from if you can approach it academically this soon after the fact, it is absolutely fascinating that these two all-timers, what they have in common, in addition to wanting to play with each other, is their inability and unwillingness to play anymore for another all-time great. You've got three of them in the conversation here, Beetle. Belichick, considered by many, myself among them, to be the greatest football coach at the professional level ever. You got the greatest quarterback, you got the greatest tight end, and two of them want nothing to do with the other.
So I go back to the start of all this off-the-field drama with the Wickersham story, which was January of 2018. That story was put up, right? And so if you go back to that story, there was a story not that long after, in the spring of 18, when the Herald and Karen reported that Bill Belichick had chastised Gronkowski in front of players for being a TB12 client. That was a report in April of 2018 when that happened. And so I go back to those reports when this started and say, well, there's quite a bit of evidence that what was in those stories ended up being true. That these stories were not nonsense. They weren't, complete garbage. They weren't made up. It wasn't fake news. None of those things. Those guys had a legitimate rift with their coach, and now they're not here as a result of it. The coaches and the players had issues, and those issues eventually led to the departure of the two best players in this era. That happened. I mean, if you had told us